Big vibes. Look, I'm about my pledge, bitch. I'm decked up on blue bills, and I won't stop until the cash pit look like fall leaves in the backfield. Tell her out of my face if she coming with that bullshit. Quit to say my piece, I'm so after school special. She brainy, but them jeans looking like paint. I gotta bless her. Niggas talk a whole lot, knowing damn well they really can't press us. I notated on leaflet. I'm really up a few levels with it. Like way out the way from them. Can't see me, you can't meddle with us. E&J in my Earl Grey hood bunched up with the cheese eggs and a dumb face. No stunner shade, still turned up. Been had it poppin' in broad day, that's Avi. Flower child from the sun rays, but I run fade, got a punch drunk. My providence, they don't love us. They rather treat us like an animal. They wonder why we on ape shit. Escaping shit, I'm off the cannabis. Middle fingers in tandem, going tantrum. Yelling fuck 12 with a big smile, young phantom. Hi mom, I'm on camera. Coming live from the mud pit, we don't take post beat for granted. I plan to keep it stress-free, live and die young, I leave it on the canvases. Split up some with my better half, trade day like it's a holiday. My shit on dumb flame till the wheels kill, I'm on road rage. Yeah. My shit on dumb flame till the wheels fall, I'm on road rage. I've been on the run, my third eye open. Been trying to kill emotion. I've been on the run, my third eye open, yeah. Ay, fuck the ceiling, I've been living out the moon roof with it. I'm in tune with my senses, kill the tune with my sentence every time, yeah. I've been in the mood, got a feeling, what we doing, got 'em fuming, they ain't used to a nigga like me. To the pledge when I said it, no caps, and I'm better till I see black. I'm still ride for it, done a couple flats, I've been down bad, I bounce back. Been slave to a 9 to 5, now we booming, no stopping the digital trap. Been slave to a 9 to 5, now we booming, no stopping the digital trap. For the slums, I've been on the run, my third eye open. Been trying to kill emotion, yeah. Life in the slums, my third eye open.
Used to push a black Impala with some tint. My note was almost more than half my rent. All my money went to one expense. I know that don't make no kind of sense. Back then I used to drive off Mason. Those cops not used to the faces. We got they would run my plates and we stopped, but I just left work while I restocked. But they see my whip and they see pots on my outfit. They think treetop got a head full of steam like a teapot. Better do what he say or you get shot. Ooh, who are you? See you like red must be a Paru. If you went to work, why bring the crew? What you think black folks don't carpool? Better would have been a crib if my shirt turned blue. Keep your hands on the wheel, sir. 10 and 2. I stopped this car cause you tint too dark. You know that's a lie. That ain't true. It's cause I didn't know that driving while black was a crime. I used to think that it would change when I got rich, when my house would need a 40-acre fence. But having money only really made it worse, especially for the one who cracks the whip. Rich folks still don't get passes. New stats don't change your status. Old wounds don't seem less callous, cause we still condone this madness. This routine stop in traffic just needs to stop and vanish. When those folks left that office, I thought we stopped that practice, but they still like, ooh, who are you? That's a nice car, sir. What do you do? What do you sell? What are you paying? And what hood you from, nigga? Who is your crew? What you think black folks can't be rich? Hands on the wheel, 10 and 2. I stopped this car cause you tint too dark. You know that's a lie. That ain't true. It's cause I really ain't got no passing rights, really none into the afterlife. A green card that in a black card, but the Amex only give a nigga bragging rights. And we still don't travel as a team no more, cause we can't get our baggage right. And the structure in which our face gets structured make us seem more savage, like we curse like Cain. And it hurt like pain. No, it hurt like Wayne when he was hurt by Bane. And they heard my screams, but they ignored my tears and it felt like hell. And it looked like rain when they passed those laws, but it still ain't changed. I still look the same, especially when I sweat.
Penultimate round of this championship here in the Asphalt Kings is suggesting that this championship is still very much open for grabs, with 3 drivers all getting very, very tasty towards the end of this season. The question is who is going to be the one with the crown on top? It is myself, James Otter, alongside Adam Reed here tonight. Should be an absolute cracker, this one, Adam. We're going straight, if you don't mind, into the last week's race results, because it did end up becoming a little bit of a mixed bag.
It did. It was completely different from what we expected, to be honest. There is kind of your bottom couple of drivers. Jonathan Spiteri, a major driver in the championship, placing himself into P4 ahead of Christian Samet. and Denzel Agius 4th and 6th there with the top 2 in the Drivers' Championship. Then we find Daniel Malia, another driver. He dropped to 4th due to his 8th place, due to his 7th place finish. And then it was David Mifsford who finished home in P8, and then Owen Kassar and Osbert Zverev being the 10 drivers who went over the line to finish this result. But this is what you're looking for. Ayrton Birmingham taking his 2nd win of the season. And how crucial of a time has that come? That has now put him into a position where he could potentially claim a late fight back to this title. I believe he's 21 points back to Jonathan Spiteri, so nothing is impossible there. And it was a beautiful podium for both John Paul Vella and Clint Orland as well. There are the championship standings: 118 points for Jonathan Spiteri, Denzel Agius 206, and then 97 for Ayrton Birmingham. Daniel Malia on 96 points ahead of John Paul Vella on 92, Christian Samet on 60, David Mifsford on 49, and then Orland, Kassar, Zverev, Falzon de Bono, Spiteri, Grima, Page, and Chini round off the standings. Let's have a look at the calendar then, as we head into the final 2 rounds of this championship. We started over in Asia, where we had Suzuka, onto Kyoto Driving Park. How good of a round was that? Into the European legs, we headed for Spa-Francorchamps, followed by the nearby Sainte-Croix circuit, with the Red Bull Ring over 2 weeks later. Then we find a Deep Forest Raceway, which where we were at last time, in the forest of Switzerland. Now head to the final European race of the season at the Nurburgring before hopping across the pond to Florida, to Daytona International Speedway, to Daytona Beach for an absolute fantastic finale, which could shape out to be impeccable.
Yeah, that's then. This is now, though. We take a trip to Nurburgring for the Grand Prix circuit here tonight. And I will speak of high volumes of this particular circuit, though. Of course, the 5-kilometre circuit, we are expecting only the 26 laps here because the expected pole lap is to be closer to 2 minutes. I think we're probably expecting the 155s more than the 154s. But we should be in, nonetheless, for an absolute belter of a race. Of course, I'm expecting some high-octane action, especially going through the very, very wide complex corners in the second sector through 5 to 11. So that should be an absolute cracker nonetheless. One thing that I am looking forward to, though, for this one is going to be the qualifiers, because every single part of this circuit you could lose a bucket of time to. If you get turn number 13 wrong, then it's going to cost you time holding all the way through turn 14 to 15. Then that curve, if you get that one wrong, it costs you time all the way through to turn 1. So if you mess turn 15 up, you don't just mess your current lap up, you mess the next one up as well, because of that long straight. So this is going to be a circuit where it rewards people for consistency. One thing that Ayrton Birmingham has suddenly found a little bit of mojo in, because of course the last couple of rounds of this calendar, he's managed to find exactly why he currently has the crown in the Asphalt Kings. The question is, though, is it a little bit too late for him to put a charge in against the top 2 at the moment, who are looking like they're going to be fighting it out?
Have a look at my spreadsheet over here. Yes, well, 3 wins in the last 3 races, a first, a third, and a first. He's not entirely out of the realms of possibility. Remember, this is the reigning Asphalt Kings champion we're talking about here, James. You know, don't kind of throw him out of the picture yet. However, he needs a big margin or some very strong results. He'll probably need to finish on the podium for the final 2 rounds. If he finishes 4th at least once, I think that will pretty much wrap up his championship chances. I think Daniel Malia is right on the bubble as well of said championship chances, and also John Paul Vella as well. Not quite been up there, only got his 2nd podium of the season at Deep Forest Raceway. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's in a title battle, but the top 4 have been incredibly close. You know, we've had we've only had one 2-time winner, and that came in the form of Ayrton Birmingham last time around. So Is Ayrton Birmingham still in this championship battle? The short answer, I would say, is yes.
Yeah, he's certainly in a little bit of a chance of getting this one, because the fact of the matter is, if you look back at Switzerland last week, Jonathan Spiteri and Denzel Agius were nowhere to be seen when it comes to the general sort of performance of their driving. I think, to be fair to Denzel Agius, he was a little bit unfortunate after a few incidents actually with Daniel Malia, but Spiteri's pace was just not quite there versus Ayrton Birmingham. So if they keep dropping points like that on Ayrton Birmingham, the current Asphalt King could retain his crown with only the 2 rounds to go. And what a crown that would be if he ends up returning after especially that poor performance in the first half of this season. Either way, we have got qualifying coming up in just a few short moments. Don't go away. After this break, we should be in for a very, very intense circuit around Germany. Right then, qualifying in just a few short moments away. If you are just tuning in, it is myself, James Otter, alongside Adam Reed for what will be no doubt a very intense race ahead of us. Of course, if you are just getting into this particular championship, where we've been here for a few weeks. This is going to be the qualifier in just a few short moments. It's the last bit of practice. There'll be a very short qualifying indeed before we head through into the main race. Of course, the main race is 50 minutes long. But with a circuit like this one, especially considering expected sort of 155, 156s for pole, that's not a lot of time if you keep making mistakes in qualifying. So, Adam, the question here is, going back to my previous point, surely the reward will come for the drivers that are most consistent.
Yeah, I think that's where the rewards are going to come into. The consistency is going to be the most crucial coming into this session. So definitely keeping an eye out for the drivers that are putting themselves up high, and I think that podium is going to be very, very important, no matter if it's a driver in the championship battle or maybe even outside the championship battle. Maybe if it's someone like Christian Samu who's never had a podium, that would signify his first podium of the season. And it would deny one of our top 3 drivers, or maybe even top 4 drivers, of potentially, finding their way into this title battle. Every single position points in this title race is going to be oh so crucial. And these are going to be the final couple of moments before we then head into this qualifying session. Of course, some drivers have just been sitting there this entire time, not putting in a representable lap time. But, practice is, take it with a pinch of salt. It just gives a small indication of what could happen. But in the end, I don't believe that we're going to get anything useful out of this practice session. So we'll just have to wait till the race, for the qualifying session to start. And James, I don't know about you, but I feel that there is potentially about 4 for this pole position spot.
Yeah, checker flag now out for this practice session. I absolutely agree with you on that one, Adam. I think because of the nature of this circuit, as I said, then the consistency is going to be the critical nature of this one, and we've seen consistency being demonstrated by about 4 of these drivers throughout this season. I'm thinking the likes of John Paul Vella. I'm thinking potentially Ayrton Birmingham. I'm not ever discrediting Daniel Malia. Might have had a bit of a poor race last time out, but no doubt it should be an absolute cracker. One thing is for certain, though, is the track conditions do look like they've deteriorated since practice. A little bit of fog out on circuits. Of course, that will mean that the warm-up of the tyres is going to be fairly critical on this outlap then. Not very long in terms of qualifying for timing, so everyone's got to really get a shift on in this one, and certainly looking forward to seeing what we've got coming up. I'm keeping an eye on Christian Samet tonight as well, actually, Adam. I will agree with you on that one because I do think Samet likes a circuit that's a little bit more free-flowing than the circuits that we've experienced as of recently, the ones that can have the hard braking zone. So I think that Mercedes should find its home here in the home of Mercedes in Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely just going to be one of those kind of sessions where you've just got to keep an eye on everyone, but mainly kind of the main competitors in this time. So I think Spiteri, Agius, Birmingham, Malia, John Paul Bella are the ones you are keeping an eye out for throughout this session. Of course, we will give a mention there to Daniel Malia, who did finish top in that practice session. Just shows that he is quick, but you know, everyone's quick in the championship. We've seen from time and time again that qualifying there's been a massive amount of mix-ups as well. You know, but Ayrton Birmingham is the only driver on this list to have 2 pole positions. He's one of 2 drivers that have had 2 wins. That being Jonathan Spiteri, 2 wins for Spiteri, 2 wins for Birmingham. So they're pretty much matched on terms of the wins. But if Birmingham could pull ahead in this qualifying session, my word, that would be an absolute leap to the system of the BMW driver. We watched Christian Samet head over for a lap at the Nurburgring.
Yeah, so here he goes then, heading through towards turn number 1 again. Remember, turn number 15 is also going to be fairly critical. If you get that one wrong, you'll lose so much time heading into turn 1. Now, you want to try and brake a little bit earlier here. This corner's a bit deceptive because, of course, you're going downhill. The apex comes at you quite quickly. Clumsy set of corners here now through turn number 2. You think that the corner's going to be over, and then you realise you're still going on because, of course, there is the tight, compacted circuit of turn number 3. We've seen the F1 cars struggle around here, actually. They do lose the rear end pretty quickly, but in these GT3s, you can spin yourself out very wide, but that is increasingly wide, actually, from Chris Sam. I'd be surprised if he's got away with that one, but here he comes then through into turn number 5. You want to try and keep the car planted as you head through turn 6 because the apex is actually a lot later. He's actually missed his apex a little bit here, so perhaps the tyres not particularly up to temperature for Chris Sam. I believe he is on the soft tyre, but we'll get clarification on that one no doubt in a few short moments. Chucking the car through turn 7. It's a very long right-hander, this one. You want to try and get on the power as early as you can as you power your way through towards this complex of turn 8 and 9. In F1, very easy set of corners. You don't have to lift. In the GT3s, you may need to lift just ever so slightly as you then power the car towards turn number 10 and turn number 11. 2 90-degree corners here. You'll take the corner as close as you can over the curb, then take the car over the right-hander. Take a little bit of curb here, but then you will take a lot of curb on the exit here without going onto the gravel. That is your point where you'll be serving a penalty if you end up track extending. That could be fairly critical because, of course, this is a flat corner going through 12 and then into the 2 90-degree corners of 13 and 14. This clumsy little apex. Taking out the little bollard there could pose a bit of a problem for others if that is in the middle of the circuit. Then turn number 15, take as much curb as you can on the exit and then power your way down towards the start finishing line. We're expecting 155, 156s for pole, 156.5 for Chris Samet, but beaten immediately by Jonathan Spiteri, who's already into the 155s. And look at the amount of people that have immediately shown their muscles immediately. No surprises. Jonathan Spiteri currently leading from Ayrton Birmingham, Clint Orland also in there, Daniel Malia in P4.
Indeed, early sessions time is coming in. Jonathan Spiteri heads to the top. Ayrton Birmingham putting himself on the front row. However, we do have only 15 minutes of this qualifying session, so be prepared for those rankings to change. I think turn 4 is going to be the most difficult corner, and you're seeing exactly why. Jonathan Spiteri taking it a little bit too wide. He just saw how squirrely the car got underneath him as he turns his way in toward the next right-hander in that McLaren, trying to use every single ounce of the circuit. But yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant to see these drivers really tussle it out, and it's been also quite refreshing as well. I think that you know, we had that kind of moment in the race where last time out where it was a very difficult day for our championship contenders. They seem to be back at the front of the forefront, so normal service resumes is, I think, the key in this one.
Yeah, Yes, quite. Thank you, Brandon, sticking the telemetry on as well, confirming soft tyres on for Jonathan Spiteri, about 0.2 of a second as he's approaching the very easy flat turn number 12 and then approaching 13 and 14, actually getting a little bit of a tow from the car directly in front of him, so that will help him out. No bounce, as well as that Mallard goes flying, going through turn number 14 into 15, then this right-hander, we've seen plenty of overtaking occurring here. I think I recall, I think it was 1997 actually, with Jacques Villeneuve in his Williams. Here he comes and across the line, 156.1, still faster actually than Cristiano's lap time, but actually down on his personal best. We're currently a 155.9 for Jonathan Spiteri, who's looking to bounce back after a little bit of a, let's be candid, a bit of a weak performance last time out from Jonathan Spiteri. He considered himself pretty jammy there. He actually managed to get P4 in the end last time out in Switzerland, Adam. You know, looking back on it, Jonathan Spiteri, I think it's a lost position and lost points, but damage maintenance pretty well taken. Oh, bit of a tank slapper from Ayrton Birmingham there.
Yeah, only lost 4 points, and it still remains at a 12-point difference. So, gapping that margin from 8 down to up to 12. It could have gone a lot worse. You could have been you could punt it around, sent to the back, and got a minimum of 4 points. That would have opened up by 10. But I will have you know here, James, I have done the calculations. Jonathan Spiteri can win the title tonight. We currently look at Ayrton Birmingham, but yes, Jonathan Spiteri can win the title tonight. If he finishes P1, Adjus will have to finish P4. If he's second, Adjus will have to be P7. If he's third, Adjus will have to be P9. And I think P4, Adjus will have to be P12. If Spiteri is P5, Denzel Adjus would have to DNF. That is the situation at hand, unless Ayrton Birmingham can also have his say as well. At this moment in time, Daniel Mallier is really being the thorn in the side for both of these drivers, plopping himself right in the middle of the two.
That is going to be the critical nature of this particular race. We'll keep an eye on that one, and hopefully, Adam, you can do the maths for that one, because I'm not particularly great at it. So I'll leave you to give us the information on that one as and when we get through the race. Whilst we have a little bit of a lull in people just warming up their tyres as the sun is starting to come out. And speaking of sun, I want to speak as a son very briefly. I'm sure you guys won't mind if I just quickly pass on a message to my mother, who turned 60 yesterday, so I just want to wish her publicly a very, very happy birthday, and I hope she had a cracking day. We will move on to, thanks Brandon. Brandon's just popped happy birthday as well in there as well, so thank you very much for that one. We will be looking at the Asphalt Kings qualifying development now, because people are now switching on to a new set of soft tyres. Track conditions improving now. The sun's starting to come out as it starts to burn away some of the fog. That no doubt will help improve the track out there at the moment, Adam. So we should start to expect potentially the lap times begin to tumble.
Yeah, we should do. It depends on how these tyres deal with these kind of situations, because yes, the sun does kind of heat up the track a little bit more as Orland decides to take a trip through the gravel and bring a little bit of a couple of stones onto the racing circuit. But yeah, going back to the situation, it does bring the temperature up in terms of the track. However, that means the tyres might just in fact burn a little bit more. So I do believe that it's kind of at the right temperature where it's hot enough to increase the track temperature, but not hot enough to be getting these tyres to be roasting hot. So that will be a bit of a difference as well, as Clint Orland just looking for 0.3 of a second. That is going to be a big kind of void to try and fill if he can maybe make something happen here. But he is dipping into the pit lane with about 5 minutes remaining. He's probably going to take on a little bit of fuel, take on fresh set of new tyres, and will probably have maybe a lap or two to be able to get going once again. Sammer putting himself up into fourth. Brilliant stuff by him. Of course, his best qualifying position was actually the pole position all the way back at Kyoto. However, poor strategy meant he finished P6 at the end of that day. Hasn't got a podium so far this season, but if the pace he's currently carrying at this moment in time is a good indication, he might be able to get it. He's ahead of Ayrton Birmingham as well, and Denzel Agius. So both championship contenders are not having the best of days.
Denzel Agius obviously not really known for his qualifying performance, and that is best emphasised by the half-a-second penalty that he will serve in this particular lap. But, you know, it's an outlap anyway, actually, isn't it? So it's not even going to matter. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things here, the drivers are now getting themselves sort of propped up and ready and raring to go for this one now, as the track is starting to evolve quite quickly. We haven't got long left now in this session, about 4 minutes left here, so a couple of opportunities for some hot laps to come in here. Majority of the drivers, if not all, now on the softs. No surprises that Jonathan Spiteri leading the way here, but the fact that Ayrton Birmingham is now back down in 5th may put a little bit of worry potentially in the current Asphalt King, so he will monitor that one. And one thing as well I just want to mention is that he was indicating consistently left at one point as well, was Clint Orland, so clearly catching the indicator stalk. Was the man in the Ferrari-inspired Porsche 911. So, here we go then. Lap times are going to start to tumble as we see people just finishing their outlaps. Answers on a postcard, folks. Let us know who you think your favourite is for pole in this one. You've surely got to say Jonathan Spiteri is one of the favourites for this one, but I would not discredit Christian Samet yet. You know, still got a bit of time in. He's just refuelling. Fresh set of tyres. That Mercedes could pose a bit of a threat.
Indeed, plenty of open opportunities here, and with not many minutes left on the clock. In fact, they've got less than 3 minutes now to post up your lap time. So starting to get into that phase of this qualifying session where these guys will be able to get 2, but I think the ones behind will only get maybe, well, I think they'll be, yeah, 2 or 3. We're looking around about that. It's a little bit hard to judge with the clock going on in the bottom left. That's pretty much what we're going off here. But Spiteri is really running a good line here with 3/10 of a buffer to Clint Orland.
So here we go then. So first purple sector immediately from Jonathan Spiteri, albeit by just 0.06 of a second. So the McLaren is chucking the car through the right-hander then, and he'll want to try and take as much power out of the corner as he can. Now this circuit, very forgiving on the track limits. You can go out quite wide and taking the almost NASCAR approach of if it's grey, it's okay for this particular race. So that could pose a certain level of confidence for the drivers, especially Jonathan Spiteri, who's flying around this circuit at the moment as well, nearly 2/10 in the second sector alone. He's now just approaching now the left right-hander complex of 10 and 11. He'll break into this corner as late as he dares, and the McLaren carrying a lot of speed through 10 into 11 then. Just behind him, Daniel Malia could also be a bit of a threat as well, but here he comes then towards turn number 12, and again he's found 15 thousandths of a second in the third sector. Then coming around turn number 12, it's a flat corner, nothing to worry about at all. Turn number 13 and 14, you want to try it and take as much curb as you can, try and maximise the amount of space you've got, and that's exactly what he's done. Car didn't look particularly comfortable though up in the air, so back down on landing, that McLaren could pose a bit of a problem, especially in the race if these tyres start to fall off a bit of a cliff. Coming around the final corner then, turn number 15, he'll try to power to the line. Let's see how much he improves by. Only 53 thousandths of a second. Will he be beaten? Daniel Malia hasn't improved it though. Here's Denzel Agius. He's also looking to improve. He's only P6. Here comes Clint Orland. Will he improve as well? Coming across the line right now. He won't. He's down 2.5 of a second. So he will be looking to try and put some pressure on. Christian Samet also not improving. Nor will Ayrton Birmingham. Half a second penalty on this occasion. Is that it for him? It is.
Yep, that's it. That's these are the last laps of this qualifying session. There's a couple of drivers just at the top of the screen in the final corner, so they will just about get their laps in. But yes, this is going to be the final chance for these laps. Let's have a look, see around the circuit who's getting the best lap times here. Riding with Denzel Agius, the new driver for a project of Ascio as he continues to push on in his Lexus. He's struggled during this qualifying session, but of course qualifying is not quite what he's known for in some racing leagues, especially here in V1 Malta. He's gained 0.2 of a second. That can only put him potentially onto that second row. He'll try and look for further, but maybe it might just be around the circuit where he's trying to find that pace. Everyone around this circuit hopefully looking for those purple and green sectors. Let's have a look on board with the driver eye camera here of Denzel Adjis. Will run board with the shoulder this time around as he heads his way down toward that longer back straight, trying to maximize everything with that front engine booming away, trying to just blast through the gears and top out 150 miles an hour before slamming on the brakes. The Lexus is a big car that should be able to manage some of those curves, but even that looks a little bit aggressive from Denzel Adjis. The cars will be heading over the line very, very soon, so we'll see if we can get any more updates. And they blast their way over that timing beam. There's an improvement there for Daniel Malley, who goes second. Denzel Adjis goes third. How critical will that be at the end of this qualifying session? Clint Orland goes and snatches back P3 in this brilliant qualifying session. Ayrton Birmingham can only go 6th. So many different stories in this one. And what about Jean-Paul Vella there in P9? Can he put himself up into the standings? No. 0.7 of a second slower. Osbert Schroeder in behind as well. He can't improve. He's made a mistake out in the circuit. Still 2 more cars in behind. One of them is Juicia in the Porsche, brand new for the Asphalt Kings Championship. He heads over the line. Can only muster up P12. And it looks like Joel Falzon de Bono can only go P8, and that will be your grid on your right hand side. And here it is in full length. Jonathan Spiteri is your pole sitter. Go on then.
Jonathan Spiteri leading from the front from Daniel Malley, then Clint Orland, then Denzel Adjis from Chris Samet, and then you've got, of course, Ayrton Birmingham in a shocking P6, to be honest with you. Then you've got Potsy down there with Joel Falzon del Bono down in P8. Down in P9, you've got John Paul Vella in a bit of an out-of-place position as well in that Marlboro McLaren. Then you've got Osbert Schweleb, and then leading on the way with Owen Kassar in 11th, Edjusa rounding out the back as well as the novice driver down in P12. So that will be it for this qualifying session. Then in the end, Jonathan Spiteri showing immediately he's got the pace at the front of the field. Denzel Adjis will be a bit disappointed that he's down in P4, but we know his race pace is better. If he can make a good start in comparison to the front two, he could still be a bit of a threat.
Indeed he can. So I definitely think that qualifying session really is quite selling. Of course, I'm a little bit worried personally about Ayrton Birmingham. I don't know about you, James, but you know, from a win last time around at Deep Forest, a pole position the last 2 rounds, he's come to the Nurburgring as the most informed driver. And he's just straight up dropped the ball. I don't know what it's been, but he'll hope to make it up in the race, but we'll head into an ad break first. So thank you very much, first of all, to Hyundai, Intercomp, Monsters Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist. But we'll head into this ad break first before then heading into race time here at the Nurburgring.
what we expect to be a 26-lap race. We're expecting the drivers to be pretty hotly contested around this particular circuit. As said, Jonathan Spiteri leading the way at the front of the field. It is a great achievement from the man looking to be probably the favourite to get his crown here in the Asphalt Kings. But Denzel Agius's race pace this season has been significantly better than his qualifying. P4 is not necessarily something to be scoffing at. He could potentially get some serious inroads here tonight, Adam. Question is that will he be able to make those inroads, and will he be able to challenge Jonathan Spiteri for the lead of this race?
It's going to be a difficult one, I think, for all of them. You know, we've seen the pace that Jonathan Spiteri has posted up all of this evening, and I'm sure he's set to go out again. But, you know, we've still got a whole 50-minute race ahead of us, and James, you disagree?
Yes, here we go then, because the drivers are going to be keeping themselves nice and cool, nice and easy. There'll be no penalties awarded if they don't jump too early. There's the red lights, and they go green, and we are racing here at the Nurburgring. So Daniel Malio will be looking to try and put some early pressure on Jonathan Spiteri heading through into turn number 1. He'll want to make a dive down the inside line, but Orland is immediately showing he wants to put some pressure. Dives, I think he probably caught himself off guard a little bit, and a nice switchback of defence there from the Penske-inspired Nissan GT-R. Behind Denzel Agius is already making some serious inroads here from the P4, trying to put Clint Orland under pressure from Chris Sammer, who is actually not looking too bad immediately out the blocks here, and with Intercomp behind already starting to lose a little bit of time here. Actually, we've got Potsy behind in the Williams-inspired 911 looking fairly sharp as well. We'll be looking down towards the next couple of corners here. This is where people will try to maintain a formation. There's no expectation of any kind of overtaking. Clint Orland, though, early mistake from there, showing that he wants to put some immediate pressure on.
Indeed it does, and he'll be really hoping to try and just pull the pin here and make something happen, but I think it's just going to stay as a line astern for now. You know, no chances to try and make something happen, but I think Clint Orland is really the man on the move. We know how eager he is to go early and try and get this maneuver done. Just have a look back at turn 1. That's as far as you need to go here, instantly making a move at Daniel Malia and just trying to manage his race as well. So he'll do a few bits here and there. He's high on fuel as well, fueled it completely up to the brim, so he'll be hoping to try and maybe burn through all of that in these early stages. Well, maybe Malia decides to just keep hold of his 1 second lead already for Jonathan Spiteri. Incredible stuff from the championship leader, and Denzel Agius will also be working their way through their field, but up the inside goes Clint Orland, and once again contact between him and Malia sends out the Pennzoil Nissan wide, who duck back into the strip, and Denzel Agius will see this as an opportunity. But look at that lead already for Jonathan Spiteri. Now let's have a look at this Ferrari inspired Porsche down the inside, but look at Denzel Agius. He is just sitting there, and he might even try and claim that inside line, but contact between the 2 and 3 drivers as well.
No surprise as Denzel Agius is just playing the calm game. This is what we saw from him throughout this season. Still trying to find a gap at the moment is Clint Orland against Daniel Malia. He doesn't want to be stuck behind this GTR too long now, does he? He wants to try and make the inruns, and really off of the circuit from Daniel Malia is going to put a bit of dirt on those tyres, which won't help. But we've seen Denzel Agius as a driver who is known for just taking his sweet time in the first part of this race. He likes to maintain his fuel, maintain his tyres. He's actually got, he's fully fueled actually for this first stint. So the question is that how much is he going to be doing the lifting and coasting, and how much pressure is he actually going to apply to Clint Orland? Because if I was him, if Clint Orland is looking to try and get the move done, if you keep putting pressure on Clint Orland, he might make a mistake and he'll take the position anyway. So we'll see what Denzel Agius does, but we know that he has got more of a calming demeanour for this first part of the race.
It is a high game of chess. It's a high stakes level game of chess in this one. And if you are Denzel Agius, you really want to try and be getting past that Porsche as early as you possibly can. You saw how aggressive Clint Orland was getting in the first lap of this race. You know, this is a 50-minute race, and already after 2 minutes, Orland has tried to put 2 moves on Daniel Malia, and it's costed them each almost close to 3 seconds now. So I definitely think that he'll be hoping to try and maybe work something out to try and get past that Porsche, but it's not going to be easy, especially with the stress that's going to be applied on Denzel Adjie, because he will be thinking about that McLaren up ahead, try and be thinking about the long game. But this is a very high stakes level game of chess that he is playing, and Orlan might be able to potentially go for a move here. Does he decide to lunge it in towards one?
I don't think so. I think they're just trying to find the formation at the moment. While this battle is happening in front, Denzel Adjis is not able to get as much of a cut, if you will, to stay within touching distance of the front two, and actually put a bit of distance between him and Chris Sammer. At one point, that was what was occurring, but after Clint Orlan decided to go for that lunge into turn number 15, he's invited Denzel Adjis right back into the fray alongside Chris Sammer, and of course all the people behind him, including the current crown holder of Ayrton Birmingham down in P6. Chris Sabat just tried to find his mojo, though now around is within touching distance of his personal best at the moment, and starting to put a little bit of pressure on Denzel Adjis, actually, who's finding that he's losing a bit of time once again to Clint Orlan. But is that purposeful, as Clint Orlan is putting some serious pressure on Daniel Mallier here? Actually, he's really tucked in behind. If we could take a look at Clint Orlan at the moment, you can see getting closer, but losing a couple of tenths actually on that one, but still setting purple sectors at the moment is Clint Orlan. He's definitely keeping that pressure on the Nissan.
Yeah, the field is burning away very much so in the Porsche, but I think these guys are having to really push each other on. It's not really clear what the tactics are going on around the circuit here, especially when it comes to second downwards, because they all just seem to be line astern. I think they're just kind of scared to maybe make a move, and of course this series is known to be a very slow burner, but Clint Orlan tried to set the flame alight very, very early, but hasn't quite been able to do that. He decided to extinguish it himself, and now falling back into the clutches of Denzel Adjis. But yeah, just trying to think of where the first couple of maybe maneuvers will be. I think maybe around about that 15 to 20 minute mark, I think is where we're going to be seeing the first couple of maneuvers, just to try and get themselves forward through the pack. But you know, we've got the Nissan, we've got the Porsche, we've got the Lexus, all right up against each other, really just almost going door to door here. Just not quite wanting to maybe go for a move, because yeah, that gap was almost at 3 seconds at one stage, and now Mali is having to do the big boy job of trying to reel back in the leader.
Keeping a small eye on Clint Orlan once again as he continues to put that pressure on the Nissan in front. Actually, I would like to head over back up to Jonathan Spiteri, by the way, and I may be thinking, how is the race winner of this one managing to put in fastest lap after fastest lap and continue in some serious good form without burning through his tyres? Well, the truth of the matter is he's the leader of the championship, not by mistake. He's managing his tyres expertly, he's managing his fuel expertly, and yet he's still setting purple laps. So as it stands so far, the championship leader in this one is trying everything. Look, another purple sector. He is really showing exactly why he's at the front of the field and why he's putting some distance between himself and the man closest to him in the championship, Denzel Adjis, in P4.
He is indeed. So we'll have to see how that all turns out. I might have to go off and do a couple of calculations whilst James just yaps away here and kind of try and describe what's happening in this race. Well, something that is happening in this race is the middle sector has gone purple for Jonathan Spiteri, going even faster and just extending that gap. But you know, it's not a massive amount. It's still sitting at that 2.5 kind of second barrier, plus or minus as well on that one. But the McLaren is really running well in the fog that is kind of being lifted upon this Nurburgring circuit. But it goes over the line to set yet another fastest lap, 57.9. The field continues to burn away for the McLaren. But yeah, I think that battle just in behind is starting to get a little bit silent, because of course there's no point in risking the race. You all just got to work together in this one. But if something just doesn't come right, then yeah, someone's got to make a chess piece like move to try and just go and get an advantage strategy wise.
do exactly what Clint Orland has been threatening against Daniel Malley, and maybe the occasional dive is on the cards as well. Let's head down to P6 if we don't mind, because I'm curious about Ayrton Birmingham. He's still keeping the pressure on Christian Sammer, but as it stands so far, the Mercedes is actually losing a bit of ground now to Denzel Agius, and this is exactly the kind of thing that Denzel Agius usually needs in order for his strategy to work an absolute treat. So as it stands, Ayrton Birmingham going to continue the pressure on Christian Sammer, and if we go on board with him, we'll see how close he is. He's effectively pushing him around the circuit at the moment, and then tucking the car through the right-hander of turn number 7. He'll be wanting to try and keep this pressure going through the third sector now. Keep the car planted through the left-hander. He will spit the car out wide. He'll get onto the gravel. That will lose him a bucket of time to Christian Sammer. Won't invite Potsy, though, into this battle. Then chucks the car through turn number 10. Again, missing the apex ever so slightly. And this is what we saw from Ayrton Birmingham, unfortunately, I think, in the first half of this season. He's definitely got the pace to be towards the front, but then this lack of consistency is what costs you dearly. And I think this is the epitome of this circuit. You make a one mistake, you may end up finding yourself making more mistakes, and as a result, you tend to really struggle to find your mojo.
Indeed, just doing my my couple of calculations here, but just having a look on board here with Ayrton Birmingham, he is really struggling to try and get past Christian Sammer. Of course, Sammer hasn't been on the best of form recently, 6th and 5th, so keeping consistent in that rate. He's pretty much matching his best finish of the season at this moment in time, but Ayrton Birmingham might have to make a manoeuvre very, very soon here if he does want to join in the back of the battle with Malia, with Orland, with Denzel Agius. I really do think that he is having to push on thoroughly. But what about his tyres? That's something that's going to have to become a factor. His mediums look absolutely okay. His fuel doesn't seem too bad. He's going to burn through the right amount at this moment in time, and he'll have to wait until that goes empty, but the rear decides to really flick out and just about save it. He'll lose time to the Mercedes this time around, but at this moment in time, it's just a case of trying to keep it on the road for Ayrton Birmingham, our reigning champion.
Off board, please, Mr. Director, because the thing is now is with Ayrton Birmingham is that he's in this weird place at the moment, isn't he, where he needs to find sort of consistent laps over and over again. And if you take a look, right-hand side, you'll see all of his laps. Now, discredit the first lap because, of course, that is the race start, but 59.1, 58.4, 59.8, 56.3. There's no consistency in this early part of this race. And if we were to compare that to, let's say, Jonathan Spiteri at the front of the field, you'll see his laps. 58.8, ignore that one, but 58.2, 58.0, 57.9, and then 57.4. So yeah, there is a level of consistency. If not, he's getting faster out on circuit at the moment, and that is the kind of lap times you need to churn out, and that kind of consistency you need to churn out if you want to win races. Here he comes then, Jonathan Spiteri, coming across the final couple of corners, turn number 14, and then turn number 15, and once again, now the gap 4 seconds between him and Daniel Mallier and Clint Orland, and their own little scrap for P2. We'll see what his last lap time was then, Jonathan Spiteri. Has it gone even faster? He hasn't, but he's still within the ballpark of what he is currently churning out at the moment. That consistency is key.
It is indeed, and that's exactly what you need to win races. In all honesty, you need that kind of consistency in terms of lap time, in terms of the race, but also I wanted to mention the management skills. You know, it takes a lot to really manage a race in terms of, you know, fuel, tires, the lot. It really takes a toll on these drivers all throughout the race. And whilst some of the drivers might be feeling a little bit stressed, and that kind of plays into part, even though you're just sitting in a sim rig, you know, these drivers do get stressed about their positioning. They want it badly. But you know, when you're Denzel Agius, who'll probably be feeling the most stress, I'd love to see a stress or heart rate monitor on him, because I think that Lexus will be in the triple figures for sure. You know, he'll be just seeing that gap at about 5 seconds to his championship contender and be thinking, can I even close that down? Is that even possible? I think that will be the thought running through his head. But Clint Orland is now starting to make amends here, and the gap again opens up. But will Orland potentially go for the gap? I think he'll have to be down into towards the chicane, unless the Porsche gets a little bit too excited, a little bit of throttle happy, and decides to maybe send it early.
Well, Malia was defending going into turn 10. He died to the outside line, racing line, to stop any kind of attack from Clint Orland. So no overtake as of yet, but the Porsche 911 now is now beginning another push to try and get past Daniel Malia and then potentially close down the gap on Jonathan Spiteri. But of course, whilst he's doing all of this pushing and then the cool downs, he's of course burning through his tyres. But I'll tell you what though, actually, I'd argue Daniel Malia has probably got less tyres than Clint Orland at the moment, despite the fact that he's the one on the attack. We'll see though, he might use that extra little bit of grip going through into turn number 1. He's got the move potentially on the cards if he wants to go around the inside. The space is there, but will he defend it? He won't at the moment, will Daniel Malia. So down the inside they'll go into turn 1, switch back from the Nissan GTR, but the 911 Porsche's got the inside line of the next corner. They bang wheels ever so slightly going through turn number 2, but I would say that 911 has finally got the move done. Malia's looking for it down the inside though of turn number 3, getting really close and really tasty between the pair of them. Clint Orland still has this move done. Malia commits to the switchback once again though, but as it stands, this Porsche 911 is now defiantly taking P2 out of the hands of the Nissan GTR.
Indeed, plenty of rubbing up against each other's doors on that one, and it looks like Daniel Malia will be dropped down to 3rd here. How will Clint Orland be in this situation? Because he hasn't found himself in a scenario where he's kind of leading a big pack here up against some big name drivers. You know, let me just run through a couple of results from Clint Orland. 8th, 10th, 4th, DNF, 7th, 3rd. You know, he has not been up at the front of the field, and the one time that he got the podium last time out was when of course Spiteri, Agis and Malia all had their issues during that race at Deep Forest. So Clint Orland has really been maximising everything. He's really come on strong since kind of the Red Bull ring, minus that 7th place. But that sounds really cliche, doesn't it? But I do think that Porsche has been improving, and he will do over time. You know, Clint started this one. Clint started this kind of championship last season, I believe, as a bit of a driver who started running towards the rear. But over the course of time, he has been running superbly well, and we'll have to see how he now manages this brand new scenario for him.
So we now begin the 9th lap of what we expect to be a 26 lap race, but of course it's a 15-minute race, 34 minutes to go, 34 minutes to go rather, in this race, which will then, I told you I'm bad at maths, Adam, this will be the one that sees Clint Orland now begin his push, because he is now beginning already nearly a 2nd gap on Daniel Malia. The gap is 5 seconds between him and the leader of this race, just going around the corner that you just saw there in the McLaren, Jonathan Spiteri. Is Clint Orland now going to begin a little bit of a push to potentially push towards Jonathan Spiteri, or is he going to consider a strategic move, pitting a little bit earlier, knowing that you're then going to you're going to save time on refueling and maybe get the undercut?
Indeed, undercut will be definitely in the realms of possibilities. Maybe not quite right now for Clint Orland, but maybe for someone like Denzel Agius, who'll be hoping to get in some clear air. We know how much of a fantastic undercut he had. I believe it was at Spa-Francorchamps. He was really running in a really difficult situation, right down the back of the pack, and then had this kind of superb undercut and finished P2 in the end ahead of Jonathan Spiteri, and that's when I kind of thought there is a big opportunity here for Denzel Agius. So if you want to know how the points run at the minute, I've run the numbers. Spiteri 144 points, Agius 120, Malia 113, and then Birmingham 107. You get 26 for a win. So that now means that Jonathan Spiteri is 2 points out from winning this title here tonight. But it doesn't look like it's going to be that easy. I think that it looks like for the moment it will go to Daytona, but with a mountain to climb for Denzel Agius, unless he can change the complete story of this race. Meanwhile, as well, Ayrton Birmingham was potentially trying to go for a move, but it doesn't look like he's doing that on Samet. So still just sticking in behind the Maltese driver.
freshly picked up as well by Project Aversio was Denzel Agius, and Altice team very happy to see that he's just set his personal best of this race as Denzel Agius. So now he's recognised that Clint Orland's pace is that as significantly higher of Malia's, so he may now consider potentially a later move on Malia to try and keep within touching distance of that Porsche 911 as we see the Lexus just navigating the first sector. I'll be very keen to see actually how Denzel Agius manages this race here, because of course he has a little bit more fuel, a little bit more tyres than everyone else, of course, as he's more known for his first stint management to commit to the overcut in comparison of other drivers. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages that one. But he has lost a little bit of time to Daniel Malia now, gap around about 1 second, losing about 0.3 of a second, 2 3/4 of a second against his personal best. So not the most consistent of runners, but again, is he just managing his tyres, knowing that the two of them in front are burning a bit faster while they race?
Yeah, I think that he's definitely aware that, you know, these two are really just pushing through their tires. He's also got to push a little bit as well to stay within touch, but, you know, he'll also be quite alarmed that, you know, 6 seconds to Spiteri. This is now going to be a damage limitation job, because Spiteri has been almost faultless throughout that qualifying session. That chrome and papyrus and black McLaren has really just been pushing on at a superb rate of knots.
Yeah, so it's slowed down a little bit over the last few laps. In fact, he's just set his slowest lap of the race so far as Jonathan Spiteri. So he's now beginning at probably a more of a maybe a bit more of a race management strategy, knowing he's got that gap of about 4 seconds to Clint Orland, but that gap is shrinking. It was around about 5 seconds to Daniel Malia, so over the last couple of laps, Clint Orland has pulled a second on Jonathan Spiteri, and he'll be just keeping a little bit of an eye on that one at the moment. Maybe he's beginning a slowdown just so he has enough tyres to compete potentially in a race with Clint Orland before the end of this first stint. And in fact, he's just gone purple, would you believe, after that one in the first sector. So Jonathan Spiteri immediately recognising the challenge of the man behind him, and now he's just started to pull a gap, but he's got onto the gravel as Jonathan Spiteri. So maybe starting to feel the pressure from the man behind him by 4 seconds.
That 4 seconds is still quite a good buffer, though. It's still a really nice cushion for Spiteri as well. So if he does make a mistake, which is looking to be quite rare at the moment, you know, he's still got that kind of cushion to lay back on. And I really think that the pace has been superb on his McLaren, but he can lift off the gas a little bit more if he wants to save a little bit more fuel. You know, this is, you know, the luxury of managing to get a gap in this championship. You're able to save fuel, you're able to save tires, you're able to do a lot of things that really work in your favor for the race. I think that for now, Spiteri will just be focusing on his own. He won't want to be looking at behind. I think, I don't know about you, James, but sometimes when I'm sim racing, I have to turn off the HUD completely and kind of just lock in, and that's kind of how I just kind of get focusing. You know, ignore everyone around me, just shut off the HUD and just focus on the road ahead of me.
Yeah, so I think for me, typically when I only race competitively with the Formula One game franchise, so I typically do turn the HUD off, but I do have my counter, my lap time counter in the top right hand corner with my sector splits, and then in the top left I'll have where I am. But everything else, like the speedometer and everything, I will turn off because I just want to lock in and focus. And if I do need that little bit of extra information, I've got it there. But for the drivers out there, they'll need every bit of information that they can find, especially this man, Jonathan Spiteri. He might be in the lead of this race, but his consistent laps have now starting to falter a little bit now. With that 58.8, managed to recover with a decent 57.9 within the ballpark of what we've been expecting from the McLaren. But Clint Orland is now just 3.4 seconds behind, and in fact his second sector has not been particularly great, while Clint Orland, on the other hand, is actually catching up. And I'm sorry, if we could just head back to Jonathan Spiteri, what's his fuel like in comparison? Yeah, Clint Orland has used more fuel, but his tyres are looking relatively okay. So we would expect Clint Orland surely in first, but Jonathan Spiteri might commit to the overcut, maybe match the likes of Denzel Agius, who we expect his second stint, Denzel Agius, to be the one where we start to see him come into play. But the gap between him and Jonathan Spiteri, 6 seconds now.
I do wonder as well if it might be worth very, very soon for Clint Orland to maybe come into the pits and try that undercut. You know, he's could fuel up entirely and probably get to the end. So that might be an option for him, but we'll really have to see. But yeah, you know, Clint Orland is someone who's very new to this kind of situation, potentially chasing down the lead, and he won't want to think about kind of managing. He would just be thinking about how much can I close that gap before I come in for my scheduled stop. He'll probably try and be getting that down to 3 seconds for hopefully then getting an undercut. So, you know, scenario is still right up in the air for Clint Orland, for Spiteri. But what about our two Brits in behind of Malia and Denzel Adji? Because they're still battling away. And I think Denz is potentially trying to muster up a master class or a mastermind strategy here. But we'll have to see how it all pans out because we still have 26 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, a little bit just over 20, a little bit under, sorry, 26 minutes left in this race now as Clint Orland has just set the purple first sector and the fastest first sector of anyone so far. His lap times are so consistent. 58.0, 58.3, 58.1, 58.1, 58.0. He is showing some serious pace out there now, and Jonathan Spiteri will be looking over his shoulder. He had a decent lap on the last occasion, put himself around about 3.8 between him and Clint Orland, but I think Clint Orland's a little bit of a dark horse in this race here. He might be using more tyres at the moment and more fuel, but the undercut is particularly powerful at this particular circuit. So if he pits a little bit earlier than everyone else and tries to keep his fuel management to a sort of semi-decent level, he could actually get a pretty decent undercut on Jonathan Spiteri. It might not be enough for an overtake, but it could be enough to put him under pressure, especially as Jonathan Spiteri tries to warm up his tyres. Lap 13 of this race, by the way. That makes it about halfway there in this race we would expect, and that is exactly what we're seeing as we now elapse 25 minutes of 50.
Indeed, it looks like Jonathan Spiteri has picked up the pace a little bit. He's opened that gap up to about 4.4 seconds over Clint Orland. Let's have a look at the lap time as well. It's a 58.0, so maybe even Orland's made a mistake this time around, and it looks like he has, yeah. Does seem like he is maybe got a second off his best lap time, and that gap again just opening up entirely. Malia will now be looking to try and maybe work something out here, but yeah, in terms of the strategy, will it all work out for him? This is kind of the main focus for the minute. It's a bit of a quiet race, as some may say. I could probably sense the comments already saying that, you know, it's a very, very quiet race, but I promise you, this is just the start of a slow burner that all of these races have usually been. I think we have to have some really exciting ones like Kyoto, like Spa-Francorchamps, like Saint-Croix, like Deep Forest. You know, they've all been really exciting, especially in that middle state, but this one is just kind of becoming that slow burner, especially with Spiteri's pace. It's just become incredible. You know, you cannot fault him for what he's done all of tonight, and he's still got a good amount of time left on the board, 23 minutes to be exact, to really push on, but we'll have to see if there's any openings in terms of the pit stops as well, because it doesn't look like anyone has been in so far. So I think, in fact, only one driver has been in, and they're just heading through that kind of sweeping section and on toward the hairpin nail head. So, you know, we're starting to get into that stage, but we're waiting for those final 20 minutes before we can officially kind of call it.
Quietly in the background, in the midfield, Ayrton Birmingham has actually now finally overtaken Christian Sammets, and now up to P5 is the current Asphalt King, but his P3 in the standings is certainly going to be at risk with Daniel Malia up in P3, so keep an eye on that one, because when we take a look at the standings next week, I think we're going to see Ayrton Birmingham potentially fall off again. Oh, a big tank slapper out of the final corner, so very well held from the BMW, but needs to find a little bit more pace than that at the moment if he wants to try and put pressure on Denzel Adji. Gap 10 seconds to the lead, 3.5 to the guy in front of him in Denzel Agius. Towards the midfield as well, further back, John Paul Vella up to P7 now. He's trying in his Marlboro McLaren to make an overtake on Chris Samet. And I will be honest with you here, Adam, I'm a little bit disappointed actually in the race pace against Chris Samet because, to be honest with you, I thought the Mercedes would have actually found a little bit more pace out there. And whilst I've just got this one before I hand you back over, sorry Adam, I've just had full confirmation that my mother has actually just tuned in. So another opportunity for me to say last second in this one as well. Again, happy birthday, Mum. I hope you had an absolute cracking 60th.
Brilliant. My grandparents were actually watching. However,
Oh, lovely.
they need their however they need tonight. They need their beauty sleep because they're actually coming up to Silverstone with me for the weekend. European Le
lovely.
Mans Series is at Silverstone for the first time since 2019. So that's going to be something that they've rarely go to a race circuit. So for me to have them at something that I love is going to be awesome. I think this weekend we're in for some fantastic action over at Silverstone. But let's focus on the virtual world of the Nurburgring here because John Paul Vella is now starting to apply pressure. He's pretty much come on strong in these last couple of moments. He's had a very, very quiet stint, believe it or not. So I think he's really just hoping to try and not rush anything here, just take his time because he knows that there is very little points. And of course, with the way these point systems are going, it's a 2-horse race going into Daytona. But this is kind of the closest battle we've got on track, 6/10 of a second between the two as well. And that gap between Orland and Spiteri back under 4 seconds as well, but will Orland be able to stick with that, bearing in mind the tyres are not at the best of suits? And I will be honest, Jane, before I pass over back to you, the tyre wear on the mediums has been surprisingly good. You know, of course there has been some tyre saving all throughout this race, but they haven't been as bad. So soft tyres, I think, are what drivers are planning for the moment, but it's just about what point do you go onto the softs for them to not be killed off after about 15 minutes. So it's a really kind of dicey move on this one.
I'm going to place a bet here as well, Adam. I think Clint is going to be on his way in at the end of this lap as well because he is really pushing with that fuel now coming to a real conclusion here and about sort of 55-ish% left on the medium tyre. They have been rather durable of the mediums, so he could theoretically go for another set of mediums now to the end of this race, or if he really wanted to play a bit of a spicy game here with just a little bit under 15 minutes to go, he could strap on a set of softs here and actually put Jonathan Spiteri under pressure, who may actually go for another set of medium tyres just to confirm a pretty sort of stable race. So we'll see what the Porsche 911 has got in mind. He chucks the car through the right-hander of turn number 12. He's going to approach the complex of 13 and 14 now. Of course, that pits entry on the exit of turn number 14. Let's see if the 911 does elect to do it. Is he going to dive in or is he going to come in? He is diving in, but critically, right in front of him, Jonathan Spiteri is doing exactly the same thing. So he's predicted Clint Orland to absolute perfection, and Jonathan Spiteri hasn't used as much fuel either, so he's not going to be in the pit box as long.
Well, this is going to be the battle of the pit lane here. So the battle in the pit lane is going to be really fired up. Look how many drivers are in as well. All right, so Birmingham, Christian Samet, John Paul Vella. Wow, Denzel Agius. I think that it's kind of down to just kind of replying to his fellow championship contenders. Now it's the now it seems to be the fuel stop, and he will get released early compared to his championship rivals, and Clint Orland up ahead. And there goes Spiteri, out he comes, and will we see a release for Stent? There he goes. I think he's actually closed that gap, but only by about half a second. Now he has to get the tyres up into temperature. Wow, turn one was a very difficult one. Wasn't able to go over the white line, but my word, that was a very, very difficult one. Now he's got to hope and try and get past Daniel Malia. Clint Orland is also behind, so he'll be hoping for second here by the end of the road. But the Porsche is sitting right there.
I'm absolutely gobsmacked because that is Denzel Agius's absolute peak when it comes to race management. That extra little bit of fuel he saved has meant he wasn't in the pit stop box for long, and as a result of that one, he's got the jump on Clint Orland, and he's in a prospective P2 behind Jonathan Spiteri, and that's exactly what we've seen from Denzel Agius. Critically, also on a soft tyre alongside Agius, alongside Jonathan Spiteri. It's not the best exit from Denzel Agius though, and Clint Orland is trying to keep the pressure on. It's getting darker out on circuit as well. I hope that isn't an indication of potentially rain for this, but the rain is known for this part of Germany. Daniel Malia now in with 3% left fuel on the medium tyre, so he'll be going on to a fresh set of softs, but he will be in the pit box a considerable amount of time. My question, gap is around 6 seconds to Jonathan Spiteri. Has he caught enough time, Denzel Agius, to get the jump on Daniel Malia? If he has, I tell you what, this championship is still very much on. He's in.
Is in, and Rain would turn this on its head completely. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves because we still need to see what's going to happen here with Denzel Agius. We still need to see if Daniel Malia will etch out ahead, because we know how, we saw how where he was positioned earlier. Out he goes and on towards the racetrack. Meanwhile, Ayrton Birmingham is not having the best of days. And there is Daniel Malia. However, he's got that really tight turn one, remember, of what we saw, and Denzel Agius will be having a look at this saying, I need to get through here, but he's not going to be able to do this on this part here. Malia retains P2 here in this one, and that is going to be a big moment in this title hunt.
Brandon, take me quick to Daniel Malia. Take me back again to Denzel Agius. What's the fuel looking like in comparison? Go back to Denzel Agius. Oh, I tell you what, Denzel's got more fuel, you know. He's willing to take the risk, whereas Malia's got to do a more fuel saving. He knew he had to leave the pit box early, and as a result, fuel saving is going to be a thing now for that Nissan GTR. So I think Denzel Agius, it's not all clear cut here for him to potentially be losing P2 here. Lights are now on, by the way, folks, and that is a pure indication it is getting seriously dark out there on circuit. Brandon is saying let it rain, and I would love to see some rain falling, because that would really make this race completely spicy. Chucking the car through the left-hander then, and then chucking the car through the right once again, as Denzel Agius will continue to put pressure on Daniel Malia. He dives to the racing line to try and defend from this one, but that Lexus is looking super racy, and remember, Clint Orland has been looking racy all the way through this particular race, is also trying to get in there as well. He bump drafts Denzel Agius, puts Denzel Agius onto the gravel, and with a purple third sector from Clint Orland, he's going to continue to put pressure now on Denzel Agius. He's surely not going to go for the dive going into the chicane, is he? Going into the next corner, no, the number 89 Project Versio Lexus actually starting to lose time to Daniel Malia, and that is all because Clint Orland is putting some serious pressure. He is looking super racy tonight.
Indeed he is, and still just having a look at this one, I think Orland definitely wants to take this place here, but Denzel Agius has just gone and done a purple, a best time for his sake. But look at Orland with the fastest lap, 59.992. Denzel Agius wanted to try and go for that move. I think he's trying to put pressure here on Daniel Malia, but a bit of a slip in the traction there has seen him just fall into the clutches again of the Maltese driver. He'll have to defend the inside line, otherwise Clint Orland's going to go for that move. He has gone for that move. The Ferrari Porsche is just sitting there. Let's try the outside line, says Clint Orland, and he'll absolutely do it. The muscles of that Porsche, unbelievable stuff, and that will send the Lexus down into P4. Orland on the move. Is second place up for grabs here? He'll have to redo that move that he did on Daniel Malia, but what a superb overtake. But Denz isn't done just yet. Will he look to the inside? Nope, he gets blocked and put to the outside. Trying to swing it around the outside. He goes to the hairpin, but no, gets bumped out there by Orland. He says no, you don't, and now he'll have to go on the charge for second.
No, that's the thing. Denzel Agius did not have that in his plan. Clint Orland is looking so racy at the moment in that 911, and the Lexus we knew wouldn't be the best car on this particular circuit is starting to recognise the challenges that are facing here as the fog is really starting to kick in. The humidity will begin to increase. That will leave a very small greasy layer on top of this circuit, and that will pose a further challenge. Denzel Agius now down in P4. That could really harm his chances going into Daytona. Even if it goes close to Daytona for the crowning glory, as the gap now 7 seconds between Clint Orland and Jonathan Spiteri, gap around 5.5 between Daniel Malia and Jonathan Spiteri. As it stands so far as well, Daniel Malia up in P2 will no doubt gain that third place in the championship back off of Ayrton Birmingham, who is in P5 in front of Christian Samet. It should be an absolute cracker, this one, that is for certain. Jonathan Spiteri able to pull a gap, and right behind as well, the Ayrton Birmingham has got a 1 second penalty for this particular race, particular lap. That could invite Christian Samet into the mix, because that penalty has to be served going through into turn number 12, and that is a long straight where you don't have to break through turn number 12. It's this flat corner. You will lose not just this 1 second, you'll lose so much time going into P13. As it stands so far though, Adam, you've done the maths, you're better at maths than I am. Give us a rounding update as it stands so far.
Well, Jonathan Spiteri with that win, he started this race on 118 points. He'll now up it by 26 to 144, and then it'll be Denzel Agius. That will be, I believe, 14 points back as well. No, sorry, that'll be 24 points back. So that will mean that Spiteri and Agius will be the two to duel it out for the title hunt. Malia 117. Unless he can go on and pass Spiteri, I don't think there's anything much that he can do. Ayrton Birmingham on 109 points. Both Malia and Birmingham would be out of this title hunt if it were to end like this. But look at how racy Clint Orland is. Will he put the final nail in the coffin of Daniel Malia's title hunt, with Denzel Agius also trying to limit the damage that is being done with Clint Orland's Porsche, because that Porsche has been a massive thorn in the side of the Lexus all race long. I think the setup hasn't quite been exact on that Lexus either, so this has been a huge opportunity, and Spiteri has been having well, I would say a Sunday drive, but let's be realistic, it is a Thursday night, so a Thursday night drive, very, very simple.
Toyota engine in the front of that Lexus as well, so they're notoriously reliable, perhaps down on power though. While this is all happening, going through into turn 1, I have to be perfectly honest with you, Clint Orland very close to Daniel Malia for P2 here, and that could be one to keep a very firm eye on, because Daniel Malia is definitely going all the way around the edges of the circuit. If it's grey, it's okay in Gran Turismo 7 around this particular circuit, and Malia is looking very, very close behind him, because remember, he has significantly less fuel to go to the end of this race, with just under 10 minutes to go there, versus Clint Orland, who has got plenty of opportunity to make some serious inroads. Here he comes then, going around the right of turn number 7 and then heading towards turn number 8 and 9. How late on the brakes is Clint Orland daring to go? He is in touching distance to his personal best, which is the fastest lap of this race. He is churning out some serious pace. If he can get past Daniel Malia, could he potentially put a late threat potentially against Jonathan Spiteri, or is the gap of 7 seconds just too much?
We'll have to see at the end here. I think the 7-second gap is a little bit too large for him, but something that's not too large for Clint Orland is that gap to Daniel Malia. Will he go for it down in towards chicane? I don't think so. I think that it's better just keep where you are. I think the mentality of Clint Orland over the course of these last couple of seasons has got so much better. He's been more, been quicker, but that's a very telling move there to just put himself in the wing mirrors here of Daniel Malia. Now, let's have a look down into towards turn number 1. He's using a little bit of time to the Lexus here, maybe just over revving slightly, just banging on the limiter. Will he potentially go for a move down into turn 1? Throw it back all the way down and towards lap 1. Turn 1, he's almost got into the back of the Nissan. My word, he's actually touched the Nissan. In fact, so Malia got 0 acceleration on that exit and we're just not able to do so here. You again have a look to the inside line, just say, Daniel, I am here. If you're not careful, I will get past you, as he now tries to wind his way through the German roads, just trying to see if he can find a way past that Nissan, and any attempt he will look for. This is a very, very fired up Clint Orland here, James.
Yes, Clint Orland is looking very sharp indeed. He knows he's got more fuel. He knows he's got more tyres than the car in front of him. But Clint Orland is having to fight from someone who's actually having to sort of lift and coast a little bit. And I think it caught him off guard. If he decided to go for the dive going into turn one, because of the lift and coasting nature of Daniel Malia, he might have actually got the move done. So it's perhaps a missed opportunity from the Porsche 911 as the sun is now starting to burn the fog out of the circuit and the blue sky starting to appear. The track will begin to warm up, and that will of course benefit those that have elected to go onto a harder compound of tyre, though I'd expect everyone has decided to go for the softs. Going through the right-hander of turn number 9, 10, 11, 12, so turn number 11, then going through into the right-hander of turn 12, easy flat round here, and he's a bit too far back to look for the move here, but if he can line it up and go for the late breaker into 13, make as much time as he can, he could get onto the back end of him through turn number 15, and it's a bit of a wobbler from Daniel Malia, but unfortunately Orland has met him with that one as well. Late breaker into 15, get on the power as early as you possibly dare in that 911. He'll go all the way to the limiter as he powers his way down towards turn number 1. He knows that he could go for the late breaker if he wants to. He knows that Malia may have to go for a little bit of lifting and coasting. Here he goes then going into turn 1. He's got onto the grass, but Clint Orland suddenly out of nowhere managed to get this move done, I wonder. No, he hasn't. He got onto the grass. He was being a bit lackadaisical, but Malia still holds on to P2. But Clint Orland is not purely innocent in this one. He's feeling the pressure with just over 5 minutes to go.
Indeed, there's still not a lot of time left on the clock here. 5 minutes can go by very, very quickly when you're a heated battle like this. And Clint Orland thought he had it for a second, but a dip onto the grass, a rare mistake from Clint Orland. And now he is trying to find, once again, a way past Daniel Malia. Malia has held strong like the Great Wall of Pennzoil, it seems like, in this one. But down is toward the hairpin he goes. The Nissan just looks so strong. Two big grumbly cars really hoping to push on forward. Meanwhile, Jonathan Spiteri just leading out in front. He is absolutely living on cloud 9 for him as far as he's aware, and just keeping on tab with this battle. This is the one that is mostly fired up. This is the one that will really chime the stories tonight. And I think again, Clint Orland is hoping to have that opportunity, but dip onto the gravel. I wonder if that will room a little bit of momentum and just remove a few kilometers an hour from Daniel Malia's speed on toward the chicane.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was saying about how the sun was starting to get a breakthrough. Unfortunately, oh wow, that's a lot of airtime from Clint Orland going over the turn 14 chicane as it's getting really dark out there now. He's getting really up close and personal to the back of that Nissan GT-R GT3. He's going to try and get his hardest now to get as close as he possibly can going through into turn number 1. We go on board with Clint Orland. He'll be hoping that Denzel Hodges that there'll be a mistake from one of these two here, because if he could take P2, it's the best he could do in terms of defending here. A potential attack going into the final corner. It's a little bit of a tank slapper from Daniel Malia because he got a little bit wide. That's opening up an opportunity here for Clint Orland going through into turn number 2. He will still hang on to the back here, but the GTR will go as wide as he dares. You can see he's willing to go as wide as he can up into the back end of the Nissan. And in that situation, Clint Orland is now starting to get increasingly frustrated, going bumper to bumper with Daniel Malia. An opportunity opening up, potentially going through into turn number 4. He could go for the move here down the inside line. He certainly will, but the door firmly shut in his face. He is getting increasingly impatient now. Is this 911? And if either of these two make a mistake, then it's the man looking to try and fight Jonathan Spiteri in this title hunt to get P2, and that will take it certainly all the way to Daytona.
Yeah, it will do at this moment in time, but Orland trying to put on all the lock he possibly can in that Porsche, just try and fight the understeer, but the soft tyres are in fact going off. The clouds are very much loomed back over the circuit, so I do wonder if that is maybe more fog than anything. The lights come back on for these racing drivers there. I think that is rain. That looks like rain. Why the wipers going on Clint Orland's car? Is that an indicator of rain? Wow, that is a very late stage here. Spiteri can come into the pit lane here, but will he want to? It's now just a case of trying to survive here. This could be a very interesting
it's pouring it
situation.
down.
Look at him. Wow, this has completely changed the face of the race. Spiteri is coming in. Daniel Malia is staying out. So is Orland. This is completely bonkers. Could this be the way that Terry loses this title? This is madness. In comes Ayrton Birmingham as well. A title challenger who's coming in for the wet tires, and look at it, it's lashing down onto the circuit. John Paul Vella's in. This is kind of, they've gone off the surface. Look at this, the dent has gone. He survived. Denzel Edges, he survived all of this. Unbelievable. But the traction is absolutely nowhere. It's an ice ring for all of the dry compound contenders.
He's got to nurse these tyres now. He's going to nurse the track. Remember, it's a 50-minute race. The checkered flag will wave no matter what when we hit 50 minutes. If Denzel Agius can make the rest of this circuit for the next minute and a half and not lose time to those on the wet tyres, he could still potentially be in this title hunt. It is going to be every second counts. He's got to take it as careful as he possibly can. It's a mass downpour here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. He's got to take it as gingerly as he possibly can. Jonathan Spiteri is already up to P2. He washes out wide, does Denzel Agius. The gap is around about 3/10. Look how much more grip he has now got on the wet tyre. Rather the intermediate tyre has Jonathan Spiteri. He's going to go around the inside line. It's going to be a late breaker surely to get this move done. Jonathan Spiteri has got this move done. Denzel Agius, no surprises, is not going to put any kind of pressure on Jonathan Spiteri, but he was going to hope that potentially P2 is still on the cards. As it stands so far, the gap is going to, the time left on this race is 30 seconds. They are now approaching turn number 9. I don't think that this race will go to the end. The checkered flag will wave at the end of this lap. Where is Denzel Agius going to be versus anyone else that has decided to pit? I wonder. Ayrton Birmingham, he's on an intermediate tyre. He's going to get Clint Orland, no issue whatsoever. Oh, losing the rear tag snapper. Well held from the Asphalt King. That's the reason why he currently has the crown. But he gets the move done. He's now up to P4. He'll be hoping for P3. Where's Denzel Agius on the circuit, I wonder? He is currently going through turn number 10. He has to lift through a corner that he's been going flat all the way through. Checkered flag is now waving. Where is Jonathan Spiteri? He is now approaching the final set of corners. It's turn number 15. He thought at one point he'd completely bottled it by pitting at the last second, but he absolutely nailed it. Jonathan Spiteri is coming across the line as the winner of this Grand Prix here tonight. Go to Denzel Agius. Out of nowhere, it's a heroic drive from the man who is looking to try and battle with Jonathan Spiteri on the dry tyres. He comes across the line to take P2 in this race out of nowhere. 47 seconds slower. Daniel Malia does hold on to P3 in the end from the Ayrton Birmingham. Clint Orland, where is P5? That is absolutely appalling for him. John Paul Vella, great performance to move on to the intermediates. He was nowhere. He's now P6. Dave Potts on the dry tyres. He could only handle P7 in the end from Christian Sammer, who just spins out on the soft tyre in pure agony in his season, which is just the pure epitome. We've got yellow flags wave for that spinning car, but of course it is the final lap of this race. And then you've got Falzando Bono. He's on the intermediate tyre as well. And he comes across the line in his Nissan GTR to finish in P9. And then you've got the great performance from Osbert Schwab, who comes across the line to finish in the top 10 for perhaps, I think it's the third time this season. That is it for this race. And the Grand Prix, the winner of this race out of nowhere, after the rain falling, Jonathan Spiteri takes victory from Denzel Agius and then from Ayrton Birmingham, making a very bold call to finish in P4. Daniel Malia finishing third, though. Wow, Adam.
Yeah, indeed. That was, completely unexpected. No idea what happened in those latter stages, but the rain came down. Strategy almost pretty much went out the window. It was either slip on the rain or it was sail on the intermediates. But Jonathan Spiteri came back and look at that lead, 16 seconds. That is, I wouldn't say that's representable of what happened the last couple of laps, because that was just absolute mayhem. I think also at Birmingham, he was sixth at one stage in this race. He was absolutely nowhere and clawed back to be within half a second of a podium place. However, I have some calculations to do.
I'll let you do the maths on that one as we take a look down at the back of the field. Then Jonathan Spiteri from Denzel Agius from Daniel Malia to get the P3. Sorry, Brandon. You've got then Ayrton Birmingham finishing in fourth. Clint Orland will be so disappointed with fifth in the end. John Paul Vella won't be disappointed with sixth, though. He'll be wondering how he's got there. Potsy finishing in seventh and Chris Shamet in eighth. And then, of course, your bottom fielders outside of the top eight. Ninth place going to Falzon Del Bono from Aussie. Then, of course, Ilmore, that's Owen Kassar, and then Juicer wrapping it up at the back. The novice driver finishing in down at the back in P12. What a race that turned out to be in the end. My seat is full of water. Must be the water, Adam, for that one as well. So the question is really, well, no, there's not even a question. We know that this race is now, or this championship is going to the final race of the season next week in Daytona. The question is, though, what is the points deficit that Denzel Agius has got versus Jonathan Spiteri? Because at one point, Jonathan Spiteri thought he had a significant margin of potentially 24 points. It's not that now.
No, I could tell you now that Spiteri still comes away with 144 points. Agius's kind of gamble means he's on 127. So yeah, I'm not quite doing the not my brain's not quite there. It's still trying to work out everything that happened in between. So I think we're looking at about 7, 8, 9, 10, 2. I think we're looking at a 17-point gap between Jonathan Spiteri and Denzel Agius in that one. Let me get my knees down. That was that was me in very much focus mode. But yeah, it looks like it's a 17 points difference between Jonathan Spiteri and Denzel Agius. Yeah, that's something that we really wanted to keep an eye out for. So 17 points. That is going to be the one going on towards Daytona. I think also Daniel Malia will be a little bit disappointed. He will be out of this championship hunt as well. Unfortunately for him, Ayrton Birmingham, well, he's going to have to hand over his crown at the end of next week. And well, will he be disappointed? Probably so. This kind of drop in kind of points as well would just not what he wants out of this one. He was sitting third in the standings coming into this one. He's dropped to fourth, and yeah, not the best way he wants to be spending tonight.
Yeah, that's a critical thing, and isn't it? Unfortunately for Malia, he's in that really big title hunt, but in the end, just not able to get those soft tyres to work at all in the wet conditions. And of course, Ayrton Birmingham, he did manage to switch onto the intermediate tyre. It was a good call, but unfortunately for him, the early part of this season has proven to be pretty much his downfall in this one. His crown will be handed to either Jonathan Spiteri or Denzel Agius at the end of the Daytona race next week, of course, because if we take a very quick look at our calendar to wrap this particular stream up, of course, it's that one round left, of course, in just a week's time. Of course, this calendar is a week in advance. Daytona International Speedway, and the last trip in this Asphalt Kings Championship, and our only trip over to the Americas, of course, for the Daytona International Speedway. Now, Daytona is a really, really intense circuit. We're expecting high deg, especially around the banked corners here, Adam. So the question for you is, we've got to just wrap it up very quickly, really, is who is the favourite going into this one? Spiteri's got the advantage, but Agius, his race management has got to be up there, and that will put Spiteri under pressure.
Yeah, I think that Spiteri has to be the favourite. You've got a buffer of 17 points. I think the majority of the circuit will favour the McLaren's way compared to the Lexus, but we'll have to really see. As you said, the Toyota engine in that Lexus might be a little bit down on power, so we really have to see how it all comes out when we get to Daytona. But I think that Denzel Agius will really kind of drop his management for this race because, well, as I said, It was absolutely madness, that entire race. But I think he'll just drop the management and go all out. He has nothing to lose, and if Spiteri just doesn't have an advantage, he's got to absolutely take whatever he possibly can away from. They've pretty much got to take. You've got to take any advantage he possibly can. My grandparents are actually watching. I've just been given a text message as well. A bananas last 5 minutes. I completely agree. Complete madness.
Yeah, complete madness indeed. And hopefully that will also be reflected next week, as we said, at the Daytona International Speedway for what will be the final of the Asphalt Kings. Now, how do we wrap that one up? If you want to be an Asphalt King, you've got to show performance, you've got to show pace, you've got to show consistency, but you've also got to show a level of management and a level-headed attitude. If you want to end up winning a title, the question is who is going to be that person at the end of it? Jonathan Spitteri's already shown he's got the credentials to do that one after what was an absolute manic race in the end at the Nurburgring. Will he be able to reflect that one, or will the pure brain power of Denzel Agius carry him to his crown as the Asphalt King? Ayrton Birmingham hands his crown over, but to who? We'll see you next week. Take care. Ta-da!